Today's episode hit deep because we are talking about something that affects all of us, but most of us still don't prioritize mental health. And as we end Mental Health Awareness Month, I couldn't imagine a better guest than the powerhouse joining us today. Beatriz is the leader in mental health advocacy and emotional literacy. She is the founder of Triumph Steps, co founder of Healthy Connections, and a board member of the nonprofit Mental Health and Emotional Literacy Foundation, or MHEL for short. From schools to professional communities, she's made it her life work to bring mental wellness to those who need it most and coaching tools to all. She is a strong believer that while not everyone needs mental health treatment, everyone can benefit from emotional literacy and practical tools to live a happier, more fulfilling life. Beatriz Martinez, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Thais. This is really exciting to be here with you today.
Beatriz, I want to jump into a story you shared with me about how this whole journey began. You already had a thriving center with Healthy Connection. What made you start exploring something even bigger? How did the idea for Triumph Steps come about?
Yes, Thais, we had already been with Healthy Connections for about 15 years. And our work was meaningful with our clients, one client at a time. And I was feeling very stuck professionally. I felt like something was missing. I needed to grow. There was something calling me, telling me I needed to make more of a difference. And when I was doing individual counseling, I was getting to the root of people's struggles, one person at a time. And I began to feel that helping just one person at a time wasn't enough. So I really wanted to support just like a much greater number of people and create lasting change. So I needed to reach people before the crisis. And prevention is basically what I felt we needed to do. And at the same time, I was raising my daughter. And there was a phrase that I always used to tell her when I would drop her off at school. I would always say, "Hey, Sophie, remember that thoughts become things, keep them beautiful. Thoughts become things, keep them beautiful." And with that simple phrase, I was teaching her that thoughts make you feel something. There is a connection, a mind body connection. So thoughts lead to feelings, and those feelings, depending on the content of the feelings, lead to actions, and those actions have results. And that simple lesson was working with her, and it was also working with the children we saw at our clinic. That's when I realized that kind of knowledge shouldn't be just reserved for the children or the people coming to our clinic. Everybody should have access to it. And that's how Trying Steps was born. It's a structured, evidence based program designed to help children and adults build emotional literacy, resilience, and basically mental wellness skills. So they don't have to end up later in my community mental health center or any other center later in life. So this is basically how Triumph came about. And I want to make a greater difference. I'm passionate about decreasing the progression of our current mental health crisis. And I feel that this is one way of doing it.
Wow. And this is timely because we're talking about how, even with the introduction of AI, mental health is going to be even more important with social media and everything. You talk a lot about emotional literacy, and I love how you break it down in such an accessible way. For those who are new to this, what is emotional literacy really, and why is it so critical to teach it early?
So emotional literacy is like learning the ABCs, but instead of reading or writing, you're learning and to recognize, to understand, and to manage or gain dominion over your emotions. It is the foundation for mental well-being, healthy relationships, personal growth, vocation. I call this emotional literacy because happiness is a skill that can be learned. It's not just about knowing or naming how you feel, it's about knowing what to do with how you feel. So, just like we learn math, science, or language arts, happiness can also be learned and therefore can be taught. So, when we learn about emotional literacy, Thais, we're gaining tools and basically shaping our entire lives. We learn how to pause, notice what we're noticing, and then we take actions that will take us closer in the direction of our dreams. So remember the connection I told you: thoughts, feelings, actions, results. They learn how to express themselves clearly. They learn how to handle stress, disappointment, anger. They definitely connect more meaningfully with others, which is something we're missing because of technology. So think about it: academic success, relationships, career growth, health and well being. All of it depends on our ability to manage our inner world or our thoughts. And it starts right there with what we're thinking. So if we don't teach children how to do that, we leave them to figure it out on their own. And after damage has been done, with all the garbage out there through the music, through movies, through people, then we're basically in a place where we really need to do a lot of building. But if we teach emotional literacy as a foundation, we give them the power to thrive, not just to survive or to repeat what they've seen out there. So they learn that their past or their current circumstances do not define their future. Their future is designed with the thoughts of today. And that's why I believe emotional literacy should be taught to every child. We have a beautiful contract with Miami-Dade County Public Schools through Healthy Connections, our clinic. But those are the children that come in because they already have something going on. My dream is to go and teach this, like we teach math, science, and language arts to every single child.
But that's so beautiful. I remember when I met you the first time and you started talking about triumph steps, and it resonated so much for me because I want a world where my daughter can have this as a default. I've always loved your mission. Let's connect the dots for entrepreneurs. How do you see emotional literacy playing a role in better decision making, leadership, and resilience for business owners if they didn't get the privilege of having your program early on?
So emotional literacy is a game changer for entrepreneurs and for everybody. I coach lawyers, doctors, anyone who wants to have the tools to triumph in life. But for entrepreneurs, what is it that they're doing? They're building businesses, they're building dreams, right? And you're constantly navigating uncertainty and fear. So every time you take a risk, every time you want to expand your comfort zone, you feel fear. So if you don't understand your emotional triggers, if you can't manage fear and self-doubt, you'll end up letting fear paralyze you. That can lead to poor decision making, strained relationships, and burnout, which is what we see often with many entrepreneurs. So, on the other hand, emotional literacy and emotional literate entrepreneurs have self awareness. They know that many ways fear disguises itself. They begin to understand that fear may disguise itself with procrastination, with excuses, brilliant excuses. And so they're able to those things and then reflect on it. They learn to listen to their inner wisdom and choose their response accordingly. They know that fear and failure are prerequisites for achieving great dreams. They can handle criticism without crumbling. So it builds resilience. And emotional literacy to me is the foundation to everything. And then entrepreneurs begin to understand that as well.
Yeah. Do you have a program for them, for entrepreneurs specifically?
Yes, Thais, we have programs for anyone who wants to build dreams. I take entrepreneurs who want to work on themselves and overcome fear and self doubt through the Triumph Steps 8-step program. It's a 12-week program. I'm also a certified dream builder coach by the Brave Thinking Institute. And what is it that entrepreneurs have? They have big dreams. And where the big dreams, when we have big dreams, fear shows up. Like I said, it disguises itself in a lot of different ways, and they begin to see that and help them. So these programs are for everyone. We even offer them for continuing legal education. I just finished doing yesterday a big presentation for lawyers all around the country, and we do it for clinicians as well. So this framework to build dreams is the same. We have a reliable, repeatable system of transformation with a great team here at Healthy Connections. that supports, they become the partners in believing with our clients. So I have been in mental health for over 30 years, and we have codified what had worked for us and for thousands of our clients. And I personally follow those same steps. We give tools to entrepreneurs, lawyers, clinicians. We're solving problems for others, but they also need tools to focus on themselves to become better versions of themselves.
Okay, that's awesome. Can you tell us how the Mental Health and Emotional Literacy Foundation came about? And what was the moment where you knew this needed to be more like a nonprofit movement?
So when I created Triumph Steps, I had the beautiful dream of bringing that program into school. We had the boots on the ground experience. My business partner and I combined have been in mental health for over 70 years. And so we created the program. We go into schools, and the response every time is, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I understand how my students will benefit from this, but we have no funding. And that was something that we kept hearing over and over again. So that was the big roadblock, especially in the inner city communities where we wanted to work. So after hearing that again and again, we decided to open a not-for-profit. It's been recently open so we can raise funds for mental health and emotional literacy. So that's how the MHEL, which is mental health, MHEL is MHEL, the Mental Health and Emotional Literacy Foundation was born. The goal is to raise funds so we can get into the communities and reach more children. And again, you know that my passion is to decrease the progression of our current mental health crisis. And I know that if we start with children, we'll get to do that.
Yeah, I totally believe it. I'm working on rewriting my paradigms and my beliefs. You're right about everything. You've built multiple initiatives and brought them to different communities. I'm so glad you created this nonprofit and didn't give up on your mission. What is your advice for entrepreneurs trying to scale without losing their core values?
Your values, Thais, need to be baked into your system. I always tell the people I train here, we need to walk our talk. It's a big phrase that they keep hearing me. We need to walk our talk. And we're going to tell people how to be happier. We need to be implementing these tools and experience our own transformation. So we train every clinician that join us here at Healthy Connections in the Triumph Steps program. If they want to be part of our team, they have to become Triumph Steps certified coaches. They go through the full training with me. My business partner meets with them regularly. And we ask them to live and breathe the 8 steps, to check in with their gut, to make sure it's still moving them. And that's the best strategy tool for us.
Awesome. Okay. I know leading a nonprofit brings its own emotional tools. How do you take care of yourself while doing this work, and how do you avoid burning out?
It's a challenge. The nonprofit, like I said, is just at the beginning stages. We're in the process of building a strong board. But how do I avoid burnout? I always practice what I preach. I really practice the 8 steps that I teach. And one of the tools that I use there and that I teach people is to visualize themselves 3 years from now. So I ask them, how would you love to see yourself 3 years from now? Not how do you think you'll be 3 years from now? That's different. How would you love to see yourself 3 years from now? And then I ask myself, how would I love to see my community 3 years from now? And then I come back to today and say, okay, what's one step, just one simple step that I can take today in the direction of my dream? And that vision empowers me. It energizes me. It energizes my clients when I teach it to them. And I understand that I don't have to do everything today, just a few steps today that will get me on the right direction.
That's awesome. I remember watching something like that on Oprah once, and she had this question that stuck in my mind. It was, what is the right next step? And that's exactly that. How do you see Triumph Steps 5 years from now?
How do I see Triumph 5 years from now? I guess I would have to ask the same question, right? How would I love to see Triumph 5 years from now. I would love to see whole school districts implementing it and having come to overcome that, oh, I don't have funding. Somehow they found the funding, right? They found that this was one of the most important things they could bring to their schools. So I would like to see it in whole school districts. I would want to not just have the students understanding the program, but also the teachers. So I do a lot of professional development. So I would see Triumph with all these trained teachers also being part of the whole movement of Triumph. And we also have a parent program because giving tools to children is not enough if they go home and then they seek the complete opposite. So we work with children and the two most influential forces of their life, which is their teachers and their parents. And so that's how I see Triumph in many districts across Florida and beyond. I speak Spanish, so a lot of the program has already been translated to Spanish. So I would love to see coaches in a lot of different countries in South America, maybe starting with Colombia. That's where I'm from.
Oh, nice. All right, Beatriz, this is a great vision. Let's do a rapid fire round. I'll give you a scenario. You'll give one quick, powerful tool or mindset shift. A founder is stuck in a negative loop of self doubt. What should they do first?
So I teach every client first to use the breath. Breath is very powerful. So believe it or not, just with one or two really deep breaths, we're already changing something in our bodies, in the chemistry of our body. So I would ask them to take deep breaths, then go back to that phrase I always use, those become things, give them beautiful. So interrupt that thought of self-doubt, shift it, substitute it with one that supports their dream, visualize themselves 3 years from now, and ask, what would be one step I can take today in the direction of my dream? But when they visualize themselves 3 years from now, Tai, I want them to visualize and emotionalize it. That's the most important thing. Do you want the juices to flow, the dopamine, the serotonin? When you visualize, you're putting yourself there. And so you're going to be excited, optimistic, enthusiastic. And so you want them to connect with that and then ask, okay, what's one step I could take today in the direction of my dream?
I'm going to use that. A parent is running a business and feels guilty for missing moments with their kids. How do they process that without shame?
It happens a lot with parents we work with. We use gratitude exercises. I ask them to turn guilt into gratitude, remind themselves they're working to build a better life for the child. And then I ask them to take a moment, a very specific step that they can take this coming week. That could be maybe no phone, no task list, just love and presence for the child, maybe for an hour. And I ask them, listen, even when you're picking your child from school, make sure that you put your phone away and you ask them, which is a question I always used to ask my daughter when I would pick her up. Hey, tell me about the happiest moment of you today in school. What made you laugh? Kids love to talk about that. So it opens a conversation with parents often. Oh, how was your day today? No, change it to an open-ended question that's focused on something positive. They'll begin a wonderful conversation.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm going to use that. Yeah. An entrepreneur is scaling fast, but feels disconnected from their why. What is a grounding step?
They need to revisit their original intention, their original vision of what they had when they were opening that business. I want them to write it down and to read it and always ask if is what I'm building align with my core values or am I getting misaligned? And if yes, you just need to breathe into it and lean in it more. And if not, then we need to realign. And so again, do the exercise and then take one step that would take me closer in the direction of my dream.
Yeah. Always revisit. Is this aligned with my objective? A business leader wants to build a healthy culture, but doesn't know where to start. What's step one?
We always need to walk our talk, just like I mentioned to you, that I do here in our clinic here. We need to walk our talk. at work and at home. So they need to model emotional regulation, and how they respond to stress sets the tone with their staff members. If they don't know how to do that, if they feel they need some support, then call a team of experts and they will show them how to do that.
For sure, this emotional regulation is like probably the biggest struggle when people are triggered. So, someone wants to integrate mental health into their team or product. What is the first mindset shift they should make?
They need to understand that emotional literacy is not an add-on, it's the foundation. I'm so biased, I guess, because I'm a psychotherapist, but I really believe that's the most important foundation for everything. So prioritize it like you prioritize revenue. People are your greatest asset. So model this emotional wellness, and then I know that we will see the results.
Perfect, Beatriz. This has been such a powerful and grounding conversation. If you could leave our listeners with just one truth about emotional wellness, what would it be?
We don't need to wait for a crisis to care about mental health. Prevention is powerful. We all need emotional literacy because we are broken in some way and still worthy of healing, growth, joy, and triumph in our lives.
That's so powerful. And where can people connect with you and support your mission?
They can connect with me with my name. The website is beatrizmartinez.org, beatrizmartinez.org, or triumphsteps.com. And my phone number is 305-306-2779.
Awesome. I'll include those links in the show notes. There you have it, my friends. An incredible conversation with a woman who is not just building programs, but changing paradigms. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're an entrepreneur with a mission to share, visit Intellia.ai/be my guest to apply to be on the show. Until next time, stay visionary, stay grounded, and as always, stay unstoppable. Thank you so much, Beatriz.
Thank you so much, Thaís. Thank you. I'm really grateful for this opportunity.